No one ever sees me, I'm losing every battle. No one ever sees me, I'm losing every battle. No one ever sees me, I'm losing every battle. Can somebody save me, I'm losing every battle.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Brand Momentum Morning Show. It's a beautiful day today, as per usual, because it's a day the Lord has made. I am Faith James. I am your host, and we are doing daily doses of vitamin I, which is your I for inspiration. So we have been reading from The Audacity to Be Queen. So for those of you who are new, you haven't been with us before, the format of the show is we select an author, we select a book, and then we do work from that book specifically geared to getting you into momentum, whether it's momentum for your business, whether it's momentum for your life. It's really just important that we set the tone for the day, we set the tone for our lives, and really getting some great inspiration from others who have either written on the topic or have, shared from their own personal experiences. We can all learn from that. So we are getting into, we're in chapter 3, The Feminine Mystery. And we talked yesterday about the energy, whether you're predominantly in your feminine or your masculine energy, and that the place that you get to be is a really good balance of the two. And then now we're into, which is going to be a really interesting read, we're into the section on the injured feminine instinct. Injured feminine instinct, and how that shows up and how that manifests, and what are some things that we get to do? What are some things we get to do to either notice where we are and then move forward in getting some clearance on that? So let me say good morning to the Momentum crew. Good morning, beautiful Jacqueline Young Landy. I haven't looked at your YouTube yet. I mean, not your YouTube, your Facebook Live. I've been so slammed, but I will definitely look at that. Well, congratulations for all of that. Good morning, beautiful Sharon. How are you? Good morning. Good morning. Oh, that's fantastic. Yes, I love that. Yeah, definitely, make a list of the books that we read throughout the show. They're really inspired reading. Good morning, beautiful Karen. How are you? Thank you for being here. So go ahead and share and tag any of your female colleagues who, might be struggling in this area of really coming into understanding that we all get to have this epic life, that it's not just for the select 1%, that we, all of us, get to have this experience, and we're the ones that create it. We are the ones that create it. So let us read. The injured feminine instinct. Modern women have arrived at the end of a long era of masculine dominance, which is how you and I both lost touch with our own femininity and our true power as women. When women don't have a sense of what real femininity is, we don't know who we naturally are, or the depth of our potential, leaving us to rely on a one-dimensional view of what's possible. Society's obsession with being overly masculine has left a gaping collective wound called the injured feminine instinct, a concept I first read about in the book Women Who Run with the Wolves. To the degree that we can't receive love, attention, wisdom, and clarity at the levels we crave, we have an injured feminine instinct. I'm going to read that part again. To the degree that we can't receive love, we can't receive attention. Somebody gives you a compliment, you're like, try to shy it away. We can't receive wisdom and clarity at the levels that we crave. We have an injured feminine instinct. This is why we're not crystal clear on our desires, why we say yes when we want to say no, or why we're standing far too long in aisle 5, indecisively contemplating which brand of detergent to buy. And we wonder why we are overeating, overworking, overgiving, and overly stressed. So now we get into compliance and defiance. As a result of disconnecting from our true nature, we, women, have unconsciously turned to other, more self-destructive ways of functioning and trying to get our needs met in the world. Most often, the injured feminine instinct shows up in 2 distinct personalities. So, Momentum crew, listen up, because this is about to get good. Good morning, beautiful Melody. How are you? How are you feeling, my love? Melody just graduated through the second portion of leadership, which is Breakthrough, one of the most phenomenal programs I've ever done. And if you are within the sound of my voice, you get to ask me about leadership and how you get to do this, because it is going to be completely life transformational. We are typically compliant in some areas and defiant in others. And we don't have to identify with all of the traits on either list to determine which is our principal modus operandi. Okay, so here's the list. If you are in a compliant dominant personality trait, you will experience these feelings and ways of being: shame, easily embarrassed, inadequate, unworthy, codependent, warrior, needs approval, people-pleasing, indecisive, uncomfortable receiving, invisible, under-earning, insecure, depressed, overwhelmed, anxious, overgiving, scattered, exhausted. If you are in the defiance dominated personality type, you will experience the following, or you will show up is in the following ways: self-obsession, harsh, superior, entitled, addicted, domineering, critical, demanding, inflexible, inconsiderate, aggressive, taker, abrasive, self-righteous, know-it-all, tough, presumptuous, rigid, competitive. Let's dig into compliance. And I'll go through these again, but let me just get into the deeper meaning of each. You are compliant if, on a regular basis, not saying you don't ever do either or, but on a regular basis, you need acceptance and approval from others. Believe that you're not important, think your voice doesn't matter, are terrified of what other people might or did say about you, fear that you're not capable, or behave like you need to get permission for just about everything. Women who have an injured feminine instinct in the form of compliance often experience the world as emotionally unsafe, become easily consumed by guilt and shame, and feel a giant sense of insecurity behind every move. When you can't make a decision, should I do this or not? I'm not sure. You're in, analysis paralysis. That's how your injured feminine instinct is manifesting, how it's showing up. Being so afraid of making a mistake leads to a perpetual state of indecision. A woman in compliance is always confessing she's not sure what to do, doesn't know what she wants, can't figure out the right decision to make. Wanting to be liked above all else, she's scared to speak up and frequently settles for being underpaid and overwhelmed. Putting herself last, she winds up too confused and overworked to make great decisions for herself, which leaves her unable to move toward living her epic life. Do you see any of these in yourself? Just notice if whatever is coming up for you as I read this, are you noticing that more often than not, a lot of these traits and ways of being are showing up for you? Defiance. Defiance typically shows up as some form of rebellion. When a woman has that emptiness of being cut off from her feminine essence and doesn't see a way to get her needs met and live her truth, that's when all forms of control, recklessness, or domineering behaviors show up in an attempt to fill the void. As with compliance, defiant women also feel unsafe in the world. They just handle the feeling differently. Defiance can look like the know-it-all who will not admit to being wrong, or the ruthless competitor who trusts no one. When a woman is so determined to never be taken advantage of that she ends up being the taker, or so afraid, now that it comes across as fear, that she's not going to get her share, that her strategy becomes to grab the bull by the horns, she is in defiance. She may also be convinced that she can do it better than anyone, so she might as well do it all herself, alone. She usually avoids asking for help at all costs. In whatever form, these injured feminine instincts are showing up in our everyday lives. It's crucial that we become aware of them. These wounded habits are literally sucking the fierce, fabulous life out of us. And on the other side of healing them is the epic life for us all. Do you see yourself being in the defiance personality traits? Do you see that more often than not, you're acting in these ways, you're showing up in these ways, in these sort of, know-it-all? Let me get some of the other ones here. Reckless, domineering, control, because we're trying to fill this void. Just notice. Don't judge yourself. Just notice. So now Gina DeVee goes on to talk about her injured feminine instinct. So maybe this will help us and kind of, help us root up some of these things, because it does us no good to hide behind, presentation bias. It's like, oh no, I'm great, everything's wonderful, because we're only lying to ourselves and we continue to stay hurt and we get no help. That's why I stress so much on leadership, because leadership helps you clear out all of these things. Considering the amount of spiritual and personal development work I've done, you'd think I have this femininity thing down. But I'm right here with you, sister. I too am still learning. A few years ago, I made a business move that made total practical sense. I invested a serious amount of money in my company by hiring a New York City media agency. The plan they promoted seemed so logical and responsible, featuring all the things that I should do to grow my audience, land my book deal, and share my message. Fast forward 2 months into the contract, working with them was already toxic. For starters, my on camera interview training was brutal. Every video I submitted was sliced and diced with demeaning criticism. The one time I excitedly shared how I thought I had incorporated their teachings into my latest attempt, I was yelled at, "Don't ever tell me you nailed it. You're years away from even getting close to that kind of result." Meanwhile, they connected me with a literary agent who told me for almost a year that my book proposal wasn't good enough, along with vague, broad brush notes for improvement. Every time I came back with the next edit, I was sent on the same hamster wheel headed nowhere. Nothing I did was ever good enough. I just couldn't seem to get anything right. A voice inside me spoke up. "This is not you, Gina. Do you need to learn? Yes. And get abused along the way? Not even a little bit. You don't have to fit into this punishing box." But sadly, in compliance, I silenced my voice, as so many women do, and tried to grin and bear it. If I had continued to doubt my instincts, I'd still be editing that proposal and you'd be reading someone else's book right now. Overall, that experience with hiring experts, who in this case turned out to be total sadistic sociopaths because I thought it was what I had to do to get ahead, nearly destroyed my self-confidence and kept me from sharing my message. All of my aspirations were bound up in that toxic relationship. Finally, that contract ended, and though it took me 2 years, I recovered. Talk about a detour. So let's go back. Good morning, beautiful Donna. How are you? Thanks for joining us, love. Let's go unpack all of this, because it is so important that we have the ability to see ourselves without judgment. It's just awareness. It is awareness. One of my performance coaches said to me, she said, "Where do you think we get to be, in noticing or in judgment?" And of course, everybody was like, "Yep, we get to just notice what's going on." And she said, "And even if your judgment is good, you're judging something, it's still a judgment. And we really get to move out of judgment. We just really get to get out of judgment and into noticing. And we judge ourselves so harshly, and it just creates all sorts of havoc in our life. So we get to notice now, Momentum Crew. We get to notice, where are we showing up more often than not? Are we in compliance, or are we in defiance? So I'm going to give you the words again, and take some time this weekend and really do some self-analysis. Well, how am I showing up? Am I more in the asking for permission? Am I more in the seeking the approval of others? Or am I way on the other side of the spectrum? Now I'm obsessed with myself. I'm harsh. I'm superior. I'm inconsiderate. I'm aggressive, because that's the way that the injured feminine shows up, right? Because I've been hurt in the past from my childhood, because I've been hurt, and I make a decision, I will never be hurt. So then I show up in that way. Or because I was hurt in my childhood, I was hurt, I show up quiet and submissive and people pleasing and asking for permission. Either of the spectrum is not good. It is not. You don't want to be hanging out in compliance or defiance. Again, what we're talking about is harmony. You want to be in that really, really beautiful space of just being in your feminine essence and being in your power, and knowing how to utilize both your feminine and your masculine energy, being able to be vulnerable, which, by the way, vulnerable, for those of us who are in leadership, know vulnerability is a superpower. It is not a weakness. So many people out here thinking, oh, when somebody says I'm being vulnerable, it means they're weak, that they're crying their guts out. It doesn't mean that. It means I'm sharing my truth without fear, without hesitation of judgment, and that I can share my truth and be connected with you on a deeper level and create deeper connections. Vulnerability is a superpower. It is not weakness. So again, here are the ways of being and the feelings, emotions. If you're mostly in compliance, shame, easily embarrassed, inadequate, unworthy, codependent, worrier, needs approval, people pleasing, indecisive, uncomfortable receiving, invisible, under earning, insecure, depressed, overwhelmed, anxious, overgiving, scattered, exhausted. For a long, long time, I was in compliance because I thought that was a way of being. So then, right, because you're in people pleasing, people will like me. Nobody will drag my name on social media. I'm going to be the good girl, the good Christian girl, and everybody will like me and it'll be good. But when you're in that place, you're not in your power, and that is not where you were created to be. Being in a place of not making a decision, you can't decide. You're asking 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 girlfriends. You're calling them, which dress do you think I should get, A or B? Which dress, B or C? So you're so not in your power. You have become victim, and you have given away your power to everyone who will take it. So look through that list. Think for yourself. Am I showing up more in people pleasing? If you're in business and you know you have said yes to projects more than you have said no when you really wanted to say no, but you're saying yes because you're afraid that they're going to judge you. They're going to say, "Oh, she's so cocky," or "She's so self-absorbed," or whatever. And you really don't want to do this thing. This thing is not in line with your work. It's not in line with your brand. It's not in line with anything, but you say yes to sponsoring this event because you don't want to upset someone. You're not in your power. And so sometimes we think that it's a good thing that we're doing. We're being amenable and we're being cooperative. If in here it's a strong no, then let your no be a no. And one of my mentors, David, he says, no, it's a complete sentence. No is a complete sentence. And be okay that if people don't do business with you, they don't like you, they don't invite you to the parties anymore because you speak your truth, then that gets to be okay. That gets to be okay. But when you're feeling like you're in doormat land, you're being your victim, you have no thoughts of your own. You need to get agreement before you're raising your hand in a meeting and saying, "Okay, so I have a question though about the talent department. What are we going to do when we have 50 people showing up and they have no contracts?" As an example. You're thinking it, but you're like, "Ooh, I'm not going to say anything because you're not in your power, and you get to get your power back." So on the flip side, on the other side of the spectrum, which hear me very well, not a good place to be. Defiance. You're just defiant. Your energy is just, it's just negative. It's just, it's so deep and dark that people don't even want to be around you. It's a difference between having a point of view but still being amenable, right? This is what I'm saying. We get to really get into this place of harmony. It's not either or. It's not I'm a doormat or I'm a bull. It's I can still lovingly share my point of view and still love you, even if you think it's okay to have the 50 people show up with no contracts. Defiance, self-obsession, harsh, superior, entitled, addicted, domineering, critical, demanding, inflexible, inconsiderate, aggressive, taker, abrasive, self-righteous, know-it-all, tough, presumptuous, rigid, competitive. And so then I also see myself in many of these areas in defiance. And so this is what I'm saying to you. This is good morning, beautiful Brenna Warren. How are you? Yes, no is a complete sentence. But we also know that being on the other end of the spectrum in defiance is not a good place to be either. So we get to find that middle ground. Find that middle ground, because when you're domineering, yes, you want to have your voice be heard, but if it's at the cost of others, then that's when your injured feminine instinct is showing up, that you have been hurt. You have been hurt and you have decided, I am no longer going to be hurt. So you put up the armor and you walk around. You know, people talk about having like a chip on your shoulder, armor on your back. And that's not good either. Being the weakling and being like suited up armor, ready to go into battle, not good either. Let me know, please, if you guys are understanding what I'm saying. Because when we talk about being #unbothered, when we talk about being, even though nevertheless, it's also coming from a place of love. It's also coming from a place of knowing your inner strength, right? What do I always say? When you can look God in the face and say, I did my best and I did not hurt anyone. So I told you about this time I was in a clubhouse with a couple of colleagues. One gentleman was a former NBC president of NBC, and another was like the owner of a $15 million agency, and one was like a PhD clinical psychologist. And so the conversation was around, is arrogance good or bad? Right? On the surface, and you hear the word arrogance, you think, right, probably negative. But the arrogance is neutral. It's what is the intention? What is the, like one of my coach Simone says, what is the come from? Where are you coming from when you show up in that definition of arrogance? Good morning, Marion. Beautiful. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, CEO Angel. How are you, gorgeous? Where does it come from? And I said, you know, arrogance is neither good nor bad. It's what is the intention behind it. If you know that you have your audience and they are women who have been, you know, emotionally injured, and you're modeling behavior for them to observe, to witness, that yes, look, she too was, you know, injured from her childhood in terms of whatever trauma might have been present. And look at her now. So you're modeling behavior for people to see, to realize like, yes, here is evidence. I went through exactly the same thing or close to the same thing as you. And yet here I stand. So when you show up in your fullness, you're using your superpowers for good, because the person who's in the way back of the auditorium gets to feel your energy and get to be pulled into, oh, wow, it's possible. So it's all about what is the intention that you're bringing, what's the intention that you're bringing to it. So it's not the either or. Please hear me say it's not the either or. It's not be quiet like a dormouse, or you're like the loudest voice in the room and nobody else can get an opinion. It's striking that balance. And we all deal with it, because there are times when, you know, you get so frustrated. Let's just say you feel like you haven't been heard. Nobody's listening to you. And then you're like, that's not the good thing either. Then you're out of control. So we notice this list. We notice ourselves. Let this week coming up be a week of observation. How am I showing up? Am I showing up in compliance, or am I showing up in defiance? Am I showing up as being inadequate? I don't feel like I measure up. You know, when you talk about social media, I mean, my God, so many people are in that compliance, not worthy. Oh my gosh, look at this person's picture. And then that starts to rule the day. But then when you can come into alignment. I was talking to one of my colleagues, he's a therapist, and I told him, I said, my judgment, so I'm working on this new concept of judging. And even if you're saying something's good, it's still judging. Like my mind's like fully in expansion mode right now. And I said, my judging attitude would be, why does anybody need therapy? Just cleave to the word of God, and God's your therapist. And I said, and I get that that's coming from a place of judgment, because I'm judging how I move through the earth, cleaving to the word of God, and God is my therapist, but everybody is different. So we get to give people places and grace, right? Give them grace to move through as they move through, but then you're also still going to be firmly rooted. So if somebody were to say, no, that's not correct, everybody needs to be in therapy for 5 years. If you're alive on this planet, you need 5 years of therapy. I get to allow them space to have their point of view, and I still get to hold on to my point of view with love, with space for all. One of the words in the Defiance, rigid, right? Flexible. I'm flexible. That's your point of view, and this is my point of view. And we can still coexist and work together on the same project and make allowances for each person to feel seen and heard. So it's not an easy place to jump into. So again, this is why when I say, when you understand how to be willing to see yourself and see your patterns and see the things that you've been doing for such a long time, you then start to connect the dots to say, okay, I've been in this pattern for such a long time. Well, no wonder I can't break through this next level in my business. No wonder I can't break through this next level in my relationships, because I am just firmly holding on to my point of view, and my point of view is the only point of view. When I was working in corporate, so everybody knows me, right? I am a child of God. I am daughter of Abraham. Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Like, I make no bones about that. But at the same time, I allow space for every single person to express their views, their beliefs, how they choose to, because I am not the judge. Scripture tells us God himself is the judge. So when somebody might say, oh, well, if you believe that, Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior, then what about for the Jewish people who don't believe? I said, listen, that is not my concern. That's not my business. All I get to do is love them. So one of my colleagues, she just fun, beautiful young lady, and she was Jewish. And I mean, we were like as thick as thieves. We would be doing working all night, working all weekend, and then we would hang out. And my God, did we love sushi? We had some of the best sushi moments in our life. And when anything great would happen, my first go-to is like, thank you, Jesus. And then I would look at her and go, oh yeah, thank you, Moses, right? It matters not to me that she's a Jewish woman. I love her. She is my bestie. So when we can get to that place where we can stand together, but also be separate and still be in connected with love, that's when you're fully expressing in your power. That I fully know I am not the judge. I didn't create anyone. I didn't breathe life into anyone, right? So I don't have a very dogmatic approach to when it comes to what your belief is. I share on this show and in my life what's my truth and what works for me. One of my colleagues and cohorts in leadership, I didn't even know she was a Muslim. And she's come on this show more times than I can count, and just loves on me in such a way that when I realized it, I was like, wow, that is the power of love. When you're coming from a place of love, when you're not even coming from an inkling of, like, how did I not even know she was Muslim? Because all I saw was her, and all I gave was love, and all we experienced was love. So what my belief and her belief, I'm not going to make her wrong for her belief, and she's not going to make me wrong for my belief. The command, the most important of these, God tells us, is to love. That is my only concern. So that's when I get to be in my full power, because I can still express full love, not reserved, not, oh, I'm just going to say, no, full love. Had no idea she was Muslim. We're like this. Full love, and still stand in my truth. Still not feeling like, ooh, I better not say it too loud, because nope, I am here and you are there and you're in your belief and I'm in my belief, and I love you. And I love you. One of my best clients is a fan of former President Trump. I had no clue. And it doesn't matter, because I see her only with love. You get what I'm saying, guys? So we get to really find that that balance. Yes, absolutely. It's the intention. It's the come from. What point of view are you coming from with this? Not judgment. Oh, you're eating smelt, or oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how many people are like, oh my God, you eat goat? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Oh, you eat the chicken bone? Yes, sir. Happily. Right? We just get to witness and observe. Oh, that's interesting that you eat all the chicken bones. And the gristle and all of it. Yep. You don't get to judge me and I don't get to judge you. That's where you come back to your power, when you can stand strong in your truth next to somebody who has a totally different truth, and you're unbothered. You can look at somebody's Instagram and not feel come upon like, oh, I better like get some new pictures up, because no, be in the harmony. Do not rest in compliance or defiance, because defiance is not a beautiful look. Compliance is not. One of the things I've been saying to a lot of people, I said, you're not an injured bird. You are not an injured bird. So get your power back. But then it's not just a pendulum swing. You swing from one, now you're a weak duckling. People are stepping all over you now. You swing over here, now you're like the biggest bull in the china shop. It's not that either. It's cadence. It's a nice harmony. Nice harmony, not big, huge tempest of storms. So, absolutely, you stand in your truth and your power without diminishing other people's truth and power. Because one of the things that I was doing in this conversation I had with my colleague, I was saying, well, I was judging. Again, I'm telling you guys, when you start to notice that you're always in judgment, when you're in judgment of people, of things, of places, of anything, it limits you. Trust me, I'm telling you from personal experience. So I was judging this person's progress based on my progress and saying, come on, we're 2 months in. You should be here now. Why, Faith? Why should they be 2 months in at this point that you're at? Because your beginning is a different beginning than their beginning, and we get to give them grace and space to move through. And it was such a beautiful conversation yesterday. It was so freeing. It was just like my eyes were so fully open. It's like, wow, even though my intention was, I want you to be successful, but we can't measure people's growth and where they come from based on our measuring stick. We get to give people space to use their own measuring stick. That's where challenges and problems come up. So think about the words from the compliance side of things. Think about the defiance, and know that either side, it's not good. And you want to find yourself just sort of in harmony, basking in the center. Really important that we seek to get there. So where are you? Oh, that's funny. What did he laugh at, Angel? I love it. I love that your son's listening to the Brand Momentum Morning Show. Like, how good is that? Like, you're such a good example for your children, just showing them what's potential, what's really going to be a powerful example as they grow up, knowing that all things are possible for them and that they can design the life that they want. They too can have their version of their epic life, determining where you get to be, where you want to be, but also knowing it doesn't need to look like anybody else's anything either, and that's good. One of the reasons I stand so firmly on being a strong support, a source of sweet inspiration for entrepreneurs, for small business owners, particularly for women, because, I understand full well what it was like when I was in corporate, right? When you're in a male dominated industry, and how do you get seen? How do you make an impact? How do you get noticed without wearing those labels of emotional female, angry Black woman, crazy, angry Jamaican, to really be in a place of grace, to build through and have that, even though nevertheless, and knowing that, you get to be in this place that nobody gifted it to you other than God himself. And you get to show up and be seen in a way that still holds your power and your dignity, in a way that still says, I am not here on accident. I'm here because I did the work. I'm here because my preparation met the moment of opportunity, and I'm here. But you're not going to be mad and like walk around with a chip on your shoulder. That's when you're in defiance. That you're going to be able to have love, so much love for other people for where they are. Because here's the one thing that I know I was reminding. Listen, we eat all of it. Scripture tells us, don't say that anything is unclean. God made it all and he said, go. It's in the Bible. We eat it all. I'm trying to think, is there anything that I would say I don't eat? I tried smelt before. I don't love it. But short of that, I mean, and I haven't done like crickets or grasshopper or any of that. I haven't ventured to that side. I'm not going to say never. I've never been presented with the opportunity to have, they have those street food in Thailand where it's like roasted grasshopper. I mean, if I had to, I'm not like, ooh, grasshopper. But then here's the thing. I've never had it, so I don't know. Good morning, Vivian. One of the things that we get to do is to be in exploration, to stay open. Because you can't say you don't like something and never tried it. It's like, ooh, tripe? Oh my God. Listen, tripe and beans, don't sleep on the tripe and beans. You're like, oh my God, that's disgusting. Stay open. Stay open for all sorts of possibilities, because God lets you know already that his ways are not your ways and his thoughts are not your thoughts. You stay open. You stay open and you stay moving forward. And let this moment of awareness of our judgment, being the limiter on our lives, wake us up today on this beautiful Friday. Let that wake us up to say, notice how often you judge, because I know that's the work I'm doing now to get to next level, level 3, level 4 leadership. Notice how often you judge. It's astounding. And then sometimes when we don't do this work to be in exploration, we go, oh yeah, I'm good. I don't do that. But then again, we're so darkened to the way that we're not seeing ourselves. And so when you do leadership, you can't escape yourself because it's you. You're like, Melody can tell you, you're literally like in the container with yourself, with others. Forget about peeling back the layers. We're like cutting through skin and muscle, pulling ourselves wide open, because any challenge that we're finding in our life, in our relationships, in our business, it starts with us. When we're thinking, oh, if she would just do X, Y, and Z, and nope, you get to look here. And it's not always a fun thing to do. But what I realized in terms of my growth was that having that conversation with my coach for 45 minutes 2 nights ago, and when she was like, oh, but why are you judging? I was like, wait a minute now. That wasn't what I called you for. And I was like, you're right. I was judging his progress based on my progress and saying, come on, it's 2 months now. You should be well along. Not knowing the progress that he has is monumental. It's massive. It's quantum leap shifting for him. So we get to get out of this judgment. It's sapping our energy. It's limiting our potential. We can't stay open because everything gets to be this way, right? One of the words in the Defiance is rigid and flexible. It's got to be done this way. Nope. Stay open. Stay open. Hey, Jennifer. Good morning, gorgeous. How are you? So let this weekend be a weekend of exploration. Let this weekend be a weekend where you say, okay, you know what? I want to learn about this leadership. And if that's you, I want you to comment leadership below in the comments and we'll have a conversation and I'll share. This is not about me doing anything other than sharing the gift of my own transformation, of how my life has just, I mean, it's like literally like a film, a gray kind of obscured film has just been lifted from my face. And now, I mean, and listen, I'm still in it. I'm literally still in the program. There was no, oh, I'm done. When you hear me say Melody graduated, now she gets to go on to the next phase. It's beautiful work. It's powerful work. And my God, if more people would be willing to do this, it's such an awakening. It's such a shifting. Because I'm telling you right now, the judgment, our judgment of ourselves, our judgment of others is what's limiting your money in your bank account. It's what's limiting your deep connections with your colleagues, with your friends, with your family, because we're in such judgment. And who gave us the mantle? Who said we get to judge? Yep. Angel knows because Angel knows. So Angel is one of the CEOs in our new program. And this is a reframe because it's now my new reframe. I don't say have to anymore. I get to spend this weekend in loving acknowledgement of my accomplishments and my wins. I get to look at where I am still stymied. I get to look at where I have opportunities to grow and make a plan for that. So that's what I'm doing this weekend because I'm getting ready to launch the CEO Bootcamp. We kick off on May 3rd. So there's a lot of preparation at the agency going. So there are people right now running from persecution, trying to stay alive. So when we say, oh my God, it's Financial Free Friday. I got to look through my things. I got to file my taxes. I got to call my CPA about the extension. I get to pull together my paperwork for my tax. I get to go through my Excel spreadsheet. I get to. When you feel the energy of, oh, I have to. It's down. It's like, oh, I get to. I'm alive and I get to do this. Just even that reframe shifts your energy completely. Yes. So good. Yes, I get to do my laundry this weekend, right? No, oh my God, I got to do laundry. I get to do my laundry. I get to go through my drawers and see what else I want to clear out, get rid of, right? Create a void so that new, good, awesome, beautiful things. Like last night I was wearing, I mean, don't judge me. Wearing this, it's like a lounger kind of pajama set. Like the pants are like super, super long and kind of like wide leg. So it's very comfy. And then it was like a spaghetti strap thing, but it was so big for me that I had to like this, let's just say I had to do this. I had to tie it to keep it up. So I wasn't like totally exposing myself walking around the house. And finally, I was just like, what in the world are you doing? What is this? What part of the personality do we need to check with this? And I literally, so I went into my dressing room, I took it and just like threw it in the trash. I'm like, okay, that's enough of that. You know, my mentor, David, he's like, surround yourself with opulence. Like you want to attract, you want to manifest happy, gorgeousness, love, whatever it might be. Surround yourself with opulence. And it doesn't mean that it's $1,000, lounger pants. It just means this one that's been like so big and so it gets to be gone. Just toss it. And it felt so good to that. So I'm going to be doing more of that. So I get to do that. I get to have fun, sort of like creating space in my drawers for more good thing to come in. Yes, thank God I get to. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, Scout says, I love the I get to have to always felt yucky to me. It's not freeing and flowing because we have free will and we choose or not. Yes, it's beautiful. Exactly. You do or you don't do, right? Like Yoda. Yes, this is it. This is a Marie Kondo life. If it doesn't bring you joy, get rid of it. My mom and I used to say, give somebody else a chance. Give somebody else a chance. You know, you have, and again, this is not judgment, this is just awareness. You have 10 different salad bowls. So you get to ask yourself the question, am I a caterer? Am I having events? Then it's different. But if it's just you're just collecting and hoarding and it's not bringing you any joy, as Jacqueline says, if it's not bringing you joy, then you can go, you know what, who could use this, right? So many single moms in the world who would just love to have one decent salad bowl. So when they put dinner on the table for their kids, it's not in like a, what do you call those things? Like a Tupperware or like a Glad plastic thing, right? That they can have a semblance of like, ooh, wow, we have a real salad bowl. Little thing like maybe for us, it's like, not even that significant because you've got so many to choose from. But let this be an opportunity to release and clear and be in giving to others. If you got 10 salad bowls and 5 of them you haven't used since Lord knows when, use my mom's line, give somebody else a chance. Give somebody else a chance to have a moment, a small moment of joy by being able to serve a nice salad on the table for themselves and their family. Exactly. So that's it, my loves. I am going to wrap us because I get to go spend time with 2 of my colleagues in leadership who are doing their events today and go give them some energy and some support. I put you in remembrance of the CEO Intensive. Go check it out. I just added another board of directors, and this is going to be so, I'm just so excited for this. Because when you think about the idea of having your own board of directors for your business, that you get to say, here's what I'm looking for. And these are experts who are coming from all different areas of industry, different areas of business to give you ideas and connections. So I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. So one of the new board of directors, Miss Lily, sent me an email, and I just want you to see what the level of the connections will be. Let's see what she says here. She's mentioning, let's see. I want to find one of the names because you'll know who it is. So she's talking about David Meltzer, that she's going to be connecting me with and possibly having him. Oh, here we go. She literally just says here, Ariana Huffington, and she's like, Rebecca so-and-so is her assistant. She's given me the email of Ariana Huffington's assistant's email. And Deborah Poneman, who is, say yes to success. I mean, she's literally just so you can, right? This is the connection that if you say, you know what, I'm looking to do X, Y, and Z, this woman, I mean, Bishop Desmond Tutu is on her board of her Women's Day Live event. She's connected from the top to the bottom of all Hollywood. And you know how I connected with her? I was on an event stage and I spoke about my retreat and how successful it was. And she was so impressed with what she heard. She called me, and I don't know how she got my number, but she called me and she reached out to me. So now this woman's connected to me. This woman is now on the board of directors for my CEOs. Like, who's excited? I mean, think about that. So Angel gets to have this because Angel is, She's smart. So go ahead and check out the CEO Intensive. It's going to be phenomenal. That's all I want to say. But again, don't be in this passive sort of indecisive. Just have a conversation with me. What is it going to hurt you? And so oftentimes, so this is a perfect example, when you're afraid to have a conversation because you're afraid you can't say no, or you don't want to say no because you think it's going to hurt somebody's feeling. So rather than gift yourself new understanding and awareness, you shy away in the back and say, no, I'm not going to get on the phone with her because I'm probably not going to do it. And I want to tell her no. No, I am unbothered when it comes to the no's. I am so unbothered because here's what I know. We get to work with the people who are ready. We're not dragging anybody into this program. We're only working with the people who are ready. So maybe if you're not ready right now, but guess what? At least you know. It's no different than you going to an open house tour and seeing what's out there, right? Maybe you don't have the mortgage set up yet. Maybe you don't yet have the financing, but you're seeing the different homes in the different neighborhoods and where you want to go, so that as and when your mortgage comes through, you're ready. It's the same thing. So go have a wonderful, they can't kill me, doesn't, no, it doesn't. Exactly, Jacqueline. A no does not kill you. A no doesn't kill you. So go check it out. CEO Intensive. Oh, and also don't forget, next Tuesday, the 27th, we're doing the free pricing strategy masterclass with Dr. Dean Colwell. He's the Dean of the School of Business at Houston University. It's a free event. If you've ever wanted to learn how to price your products and services, increase them without feeling like, oh my gosh, your people are going to like run away from you and not do any work with you if you ever increase your pricing, you get to be at this event. It's free. It's April 27th, 2:30 Eastern. The link is going to be on my Facebook. I'm going to do another post on that, but go to my personal Facebook page, look for it, get registered. It's going to be an hour of magic. I mean, this is the gifting, right? So be sure to register for that. Exactly. Get the information and then you make an educated decision. That's it. But when we don't come forward, let that be an awareness for you. Let that be an awareness that every morning I come in momentum and I sit and I listen and I learn from Faith. And when she says, here's the thing that's going on that you haven't yet stepped up to say, tell me more. Let that be an awareness for you of, are you in compliance? Where again, you don't want to say no, right? Think about that you wouldn't want to come further because maybe you've already decided, I'm not worthy of being in a CEO mastermind. I'm not worthy of having these opportunities, and I'm not worthy to invest in myself, because that's where that comes from. Let that be so clear to you today, that you're subconsciously dealing with worthiness when you say, oh, I can't, and you know you need it. You know you get to have it. You know that this would be so forward momentum for your life or your business, and you say it's because your subconscious is like, we're not going to take any chance on you. We're not going to invest anything in you. And all that stems back to being in alignment to and in integrity to your word, to yourself. So much good stuff. So anyway, I'm going to run. I get to go into the summit right now. Have a wonderful day. I love you guys so much. Be here on Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern. And I will see everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.